Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship Alumni Achievement Award event presented by Venture Lab. My name is Ravi Viswanathan. I'm a 1990 Penn engineering grad, a 1998 Wharton MBA grad, the founder and managing partner of Newview Capital, and the chairman of the Venture Lab Advisory Board, and I'm happy and honored to be your MC for the evening. For those of you who've never joined us for an Alumni Achievement Award event, this annual celebration provides Wharton and the University of Pennsylvania an opportunity to recognize and to honor excellence in our entrepreneurial community. As a matter of fact, this is the 10th year that we're bestowing this award to alumni who have made their mark on the world through their entrepreneurial ambition and success. Past honorees have included Amy Gutmann, CEO and founder of Madison Reed, Mark Lohr, founder and CEO of Jet.com, Josh Koppelman, founder of First Round Capital, and Jeff Weiner, executive chairman of LinkedIn, just to name a few. And tonight, we're excited and thrilled to add the incomparable John Legend, 1999 College of Arts and Science graduate, to this list of distinguished award winners. Our event tonight will culminate in a fireside chat with our award winner, John Legend, that will be moderated by the award-winning educator, leading expert in her field, respected mentor, and Dean of the Wharton School, Erika James. In this conversation, Dean James will lead a discussion on the lessons that John has learned during his entrepreneurial journey and about his drive to use entrepreneurship as a platform for innovation and change. You too can join the conversation with the rest of the Penn community on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by using the hashtag entrepreneur, spelled ENTREPENNEUR. Posts will be featured on our event page, venturelab.upenn.edu. Also, if at any point you have trouble viewing the event, that website also has additional viewing options. But before we get there, I'm pleased to introduce Wharton's Vice Dean of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Karl Ulrich.
Thanks, Ravi. Although not obvious in this virtual format, I believe this is the largest gathering of Penn-related entrepreneurs ever, and certainly our biggest entrepreneurship event at Penn. When I looked at the registration list, I saw all kinds of people that I had in class, and so it's a huge thrill for me to convene this group. In the announcements for this event and in Ravi's welcome, you heard the term Venture Lab, possibly for the first time. Venture Lab is the new name for the Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship Organization. The mission of Venture Lab is to maximize the ability of Penn students and alumni to address important challenges through entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial approaches. I want to emphasize two parts of that mission. First, we aim to serve every Penn student. Although Venture Lab is administered by Wharton, we welcome any Penn student, and many of our programs are run by the School of Engineering. Second, not all Penn students are founders, and many will never work in a startup. But we believe that entrepreneurial approaches are relevant to virtually every challenge they will address in their lives. This evening's honoree, John Legend, is a particularly appropriate recipient of this year's award and exemplifies those two parts of the Venture Lab mission. First, he's a graduate of the college, reflecting our hope to support the entire university. And second, he's applied entrepreneurial approaches to important areas outside of business. The launch of Venture Lab coincides with the completion of Tangen Hall. Tangen is a 7-story building at the heart of the residential portion of the Penn campus. To help you visualize it, it's right behind that key West Philly landmark, McDonald's. It's really fantastic, comprising a retail lab, a food lab, several maker studios, and a lot of spaces for student teams to meet and work. I believe it's the largest and most comprehensive facility for student entrepreneurship in the entire world. Our plan is to be open to the Penn community in August, and we really look forward to seeing you all there the next time you're on campus. Okay, back to you, Ravi.
Thank you for that, Karl. Those truly are some very exciting developments. To introduce our 2021 Alumni Achievement Award recipient, it is my honor to welcome Dr. Amy Gutmann, President of the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Gutmann has been president of the university since 2004. Named one of the world's 50 greatest leaders by Fortune magazine in 2018, it's no surprise that the university has undergone an unparalleled transformation during her tenure. She has made access to a Penn education a top priority by doubling the number of students from low and middle incomes and first-generation college families at the university. Penn is now the largest university in the US offering all-grant financial aid that meets the full need of undergraduate students. Dr. Gutmann has also overseen the creation of a robust innovation ecosystem. In addition to Tangen Hall, the 23-acre Pennovation Works and its flagship Pennovation Center, Incubator, and Laboratory were launched during her tenure. These innovations have helped Penn rank number 4 on Reuters' World's Most Innovative Universities for the past 3 years running. Dr. Gutmann, a warm welcome to our event this evening.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you, Karl, for your leadership, both of you. Welcome, everyone. Today we honor an exceptional Penn alumnus for his urgent work. He is an innovative champion for social change who boldly declares things must change. The US is home to less than 5% of the world's population, yet nearly a quarter of all incarcerated persons are in US prisons, the most prisoners per capita in the world, and a majority of them are Black or brown. The damage done is beyond counting. Families shattered, communities shredded, and opportunities crippled. But in the past year, we have seen the largest mass movements for racial justice in generations rising up against such systemic racism. The 2021 winner of the Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship Alumni Achievement Award has led the way forward. In 2014, he launched Free America to end mass incarceration in this country. In 2017, he started the Show Me campaign to close education gaps that disproportionately affect affect minority and low-income children. And he also created LRNG Innovators to invest in educators shaping the future of education. And I haven't even mentioned his musical genius. He is the first African-American man and the second youngest member of that rare group of entertainers who have obtained EGOT status, winner of Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards. He is also a proud member of the Penn class of 1999, 2014 Penn honorary degree recipient, Penn commencement speaker, and advisory board member for the Quattrone Center at Penn Carey Law for the fair administration of justice. In short, he always makes time for Penn students and for the university we love. We could not be any more grateful for or prouder of John Legend. Joining John in conversation is the eminent dean of the Wharton School, Erika James. She is a dynamic leader for interdisciplinary innovation, teaching, and excellence through diversity and inclusion. She champions the power of business and business education to do good in the world. Named one of the top 10 women of power in education by Black Enterprise and one of the Power 100 by Ebony Magazine, she leads Wharton at a pivotal moment, both for our school and our world. So now I'm delighted to welcome and hand things off to Dean James and John Legend. Congratulations, John. Hello, Erika. It's great to see you. Without further ado, take it away.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gutmann. John, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure to meet you. I have never encountered you before in all my Penn moments, but I'm excited that we're able to talk today and excited that you're in the position that you're in.
Well, I'm excited to be here and more excited to have this conversation. There is so much that I think our audience will learn. So in the interest of time, I'm eager to just dive in.
Let's dive in.
So if anyone does not know about your, as Dr. Gutmann put it, your musical genius and your talent as a musician and as a balladeer, they clearly have been living on another planet. But what they might not fully recognize is that you're being honored here tonight because of your entrepreneurial interest and talents. There's a long journey that you took between when you left Penn and where you are now as a musician and as an entrepreneur. Can you just take us a little bit on that journey? After you left Penn, what did you do?
Well, I think I was very influenced by my Wharton undergrad friends because they were all going to those events that the consulting firms and the banking firms would throw, where they would orient you to the kinds of work they were doing, introduce you to alumni from Penn who happened to be working there. And BCG and some of the other consulting firms got together and did a little introduction to consulting for Black students. They brought in some Black alumni. I knew some of them who were working at those firms at that point. I think BCG, McKinsey, and some of the other big firms were there. And I was invited somehow to go to this, even though I was an English major at the college. And I went to the dinner and sat next to a friend of mine who had already graduated and was working at BCG. And she told me some, interesting things about her work and how stimulating it was, and how interesting her coworkers were, and how competitive the process was, and it sounded interesting to me. So I decided to drop my resume for BCG, McKinsey, and a few other firms. I got interviews with both BCG and McKinsey, and I made it past the first round with BCG, made it past the second round, then visited at one of the offices and did an interview with one of the partners, and I got an offer to work at Boston Consulting Group. So when I get this offer, it was for $50,000 a year, which for me, um, my father was a auto factory worker. He never made more than $50,000 a year. My mother worked at home. She did seamstress work and taught us at home. And $50,000 was just like a staggering amount of money for me. And so I get this offer, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I got to take this." I knew I wanted to be a full-time musician eventually, but I figured, I was going to have to work a day job anyway, and most musicians are waiting tables or doing this or that. And my waiting tables was working at BCG, I guess. And so I go to Boston, and I spend 1 year in the Boston office, and then I ask to be transferred to New York because I wanted to be closer to the music industry. And I moved to New York. This was in 2000. This was when the dot-com boom was happening, the first one. And there were a lot of associates that were leaving to go work at startups. And at that time, we all felt like we had a bit of negotiating power just because they were trying their best to keep us from leaving. And so my choice was at that moment to use that to my advantage and convince them to let me transfer to New York so that I could fulfill my dreams of getting closer to the music business and eventually leaving BCG so I could get a record deal. So I moved to New York, and I start collaborating with a lot of different producers and writers there. I was already collaborating with a guy named Dave Tozer, who was based in Philly, that I had met when I was at Penn. And then I started collaborating with the cousin of a Wharton grad. His name is Kanye West. He was the cousin of Wharton grad and roommate of mine, Devon Harris. And he had moved to the New York area from Chicago, and he wanted to make it in the business. He was starting to produce for big artists like Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel and a lot of the Rockefeller artists. And his cousin thought we should connect and that we should start collaborating. And so while I was working at BCG New York in the daytime, I would go to the studio at night and write with Kanye West. And he was working on his demo, which eventually became The College Dropout. And I was working on my demo, which eventually became Get Lifted. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, one of the things that sticks out to me is that it's hard to make it as an artist without that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, because so much of what you're doing is presenting yourself as a new business, presenting yourself as a new idea or a new entry in a crowded field of musicians, but that you have something different and new to offer. And you've got to find a way to convince funders, which are record labels usually, and convinces your customers that you're a new company worth investing in and buying products from. And so I think that was my first big entrepreneurial move, was to decide to embark on this career as an artist and try to get a record deal and get my music out to the world.
I love that story. I'm curious, did you make those reflections and insights about the connection between what you were doing in the business world to sell yourself and what it meant to be a musician, or did that realization come sort of in hindsight?
It came in hindsight more, because I think at first it's happening, but you're not thinking about it that way. When I was starting out, it's just about sounding fresh, sounding different, having something different to offer, that every other artist that's in your genre or that maybe categorized with you isn't doing. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you make yourself stand out? How do you make your music seem urgent and necessary and important for people to have in their lives? And you experiment. Part of it is developing your sound. Part of it's figuring out who you are and what you have to say that's different from everyone else. And then part of it is connecting with the right people, collaborating with the right people to do it together and learn from each other and create something new that you wouldn't have done by yourself. And I think all of those things probably apply to a lot of different business ventures, but you may not be thinking about it as you're doing it, but in hindsight, it makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and I certainly hope that we have a number of students who are hearing this and making connections for themselves. The importance of differentiating who you are as a brand is as important in the entertainment industry as it is in business. So, as President Gutmann mentioned, you are a multi-platinum artist with 11 Grammy Awards, an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, a Tony Award, and 2 Emmys. And how did you, in addition to all of that, you have this philanthropic interest and you have this passion around social causes, 2 of which are education and criminal reform. So share with us why those 2 areas. What is it that compelled you to spend your time and talent in those ways?
Well, I'll start first of all with just why these things are important to me. As a kid, I grew up reading about um, heroes of mine, and those heroes were people who fought for justice. I used to, when I would go to the library, I was homeschooled during my elementary school years, and my parents would just take us to the library and say, "Go, find whatever you want to read," and they just wanted us to read things that we were excited about and that we were passionate about. And I was always so interested in reading about civil rights heroes, people who fought for justice and fought for equality. And it always struck me that they lived really impactful lives, and I wanted to live an impactful life. But I also was in love with music and wanted to make music for a living. And when I was 15, I entered an essay competition. It was a Black History Month essay competition sponsored by McDonald's. And McDonald's, the prompt for the essay question was, how do you plan to make Black history? And my answer was, in 500 words or less, that I was going to make it in the music business, become a successful artist, and use my platform to fight for justice and equality for my people. And so I wrote that when I was 15, and I'd kind of forgotten about it when I was embarking on my career and going about doing what I was doing. But one day, my dad said, "Johnny, do you remember that essay that you wrote?" And I read it, and I was almost in tears reading it because it was so prescient. It was saying exactly what I ended up doing in my life. And I hadn't thought about it for so long, and it was really moving to me that even when I was 15, I was thinking about that. So, anyway, how does that translate to the work that we're doing? So, I stay engaged. I do a lot of reading. I talk to activists. I talk to people who are organizing and doing work to try to make lives better for people in disadvantaged communities. I talk to them about their schools. I talk to them about some of the other challenges that they're facing in their communities. And I try to help. And some of the work that we're doing is inspired by me getting upset, me being mad at injustice, me being mad when I see how certain people are treated and trying to make things better for them. Um, Part of it is me seeing systems that need to change and education that needs to happen in our communities and our general electorate so they understand issues better. And we want to try to use our platform to educate them and inform them as voters so that they can in turn push policymakers to change policies. So I'm living that dream that I had for myself when I was 15, but I'm trying to do it in the way that's most effective. And I think it starts with listening to people who are really affected by these issues. So when we talk about criminal justice reform, I speak to people in prison. I speak to people in jail. I speak to people who have come out of prison. I speak to law enforcement. I speak to district attorneys and other stakeholders. I speak to organizers who spend a lot of time thinking about how to move popular will in a certain direction. And I speak to activists who are in the state houses pushing for changes in the laws that will make lives better. So I speak to all those people, I listen to them, I try to amplify them. And when we can, we try to fund solutions that we think will improve people's lives.
Well, the work that you're doing is so powerful and so important. There was a time when celebrities and athletes who spent their voice or lended their voice to these kinds of issues or were considered to be activists were criticized for sort of playing outside of their lane.
We
And
still
yet,
are.
yeah, well, I was going to ask you, have you noticed a shift in that or not? And how have you seen your celebrity either facilitate or impede the work that you're trying to do?
Well, I think there are always going to be people who disagree with you, and sometimes when they disagree with you, they try to disqualify you from the conversation by saying, "Well, you're just a celebrity. What do you know? You're a musician. Stick to music." But of course, we're all citizens. We all have a stake in our society. We're all, if we're citizens, have the right to vote. We pay taxes. We are part of a collective that is hopefully making decisions on behalf of the collective. When we come together and vote, when we are activists and pushing our legislators, we're saying we all have a stake in what happens in this country. And when we have a stake in it, then we have a right to speak up and say, this is what I think should happen. And I hope that people judge me by my ideas, by the people I'm hopefully speaking up for, rather than just saying, well, he's a celebrity, I'm going to dismiss it out of hand. Engage with the idea, um, discuss the idea on its own merits, rather than being hung up on the idea that, oh, he's a celebrity, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And of course, we know that the fact that I am a celebrity helps in some ways too. It helps to amplify the things that I say. When I say something, it goes out to 13.5 million followers, and that means something. And so, when I say something, it's more likely to get press coverage, and that means something as well. So I try to be aware of that impact and not waste it and not be frivolous with it as well.
Yeah. So in 2014, you gave a commencement address at the University of Pennsylvania, and you talked about the
Yeah.
importance of love. And you
Yeah.
referenced Cornel West in advocating that we love the world and called that love justice. How has that informed your entrepreneurial endeavors? And in particular, if you could weave that into your work with Unlocked Futures. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Well, Dr. Cornel West, one of the things he said is that justice is what love looks like in public. And I think what he meant by that is that if you love people that you don't even know, people that may not look like you, may not worship like you, may live across the country or across the world, if you have a love for them, it shows itself in policy. It shows itself in justice. It shows itself in equality. And so I use that as a guiding force for how I think about my activism, which is how do I show love for people that I don't even know? How do I show love for people who may be overlooked, who may be under resourced, who may be oppressed, who may be outcast because they look different or they love differently or they worship differently? How do I show love to those people? And when it comes to what that means with incarcerated people and people who are formerly incarcerated, sometimes they're at the bottom when it comes to who society shows love toward. They've made a mistake. Some of them are falsely convicted, but many of them are convicted because they actually did the thing that they're accused of. But one way or another, they got caught up in the system, and they're not shown a lot of love by society. And what I realize is they're human beings too. They're family members, they're community members. I have my own family members. That's how I can humanize them. I have my own family members that were locked up at some point. And it's easy for me to see their humanity, and I want others to see their humanity too. And particularly when they've come out of prison and they're trying to re enter society, um, they need the opportunity to contribute to society, whether it's getting jobs, creating jobs as entrepreneurs, voting, getting housing, all sorts of elements of being part of a community and being part of society are made extremely difficult because they're returning from prison. And so we started Unlocked Futures as a way to inspire and fund entrepreneurs in the nonprofit and for profit space who have been formerly incarcerated and give them opportunities to create jobs. They have ideas. A lot of them were hustlers in their own way, in a more illicit way, before they went to prison. And we want to give them an opportunity to create jobs and use that entrepreneurial spirit in a way that's legal and adds to their community rather than detracting from it. And so we started Unlock Futures with Bank of America's funding and support, and with New Profit, which is sort of a VC for philanthropies, which is based in Boston. And we gather a cohort of entrepreneurs who are innovating in the for-profit and nonprofit space. All of them have been affected by the criminal justice system in one way or another. And we convene them, we help fund them, and we bring them together to share ideas and learn from each other and learn from our experts at Bank of America and New Profit. So that's Unlock Futures.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And there are you may not know, there are a handful of business schools who are actually doing similar kinds of work and leveraging the talent of their faculty and/or MBA students to work in prisons with prisoners or recently released felons to give them the same kinds of tools and skill sets so that they can re-enter society in a more productive and healthy way. So
Absolutely. And I think the bottom line is, one, seeing their humanity, knowing that nobody should be only defined by the worst thing they've ever done. Um, and I think part of the way I'm able to do that is, like I said before, knowing that I have family members that have gone through the same thing. I know what it's like for them to come out and feel like they have nowhere to turn um, when it comes to housing, jobs, all kinds of things. There's so many doors slammed in their faces, and we wanted to create opportunity for them to contribute to their community and to make a better life for themselves and for their families.
yeah. I want to switch gears just a little bit. So we learned in the introduction that you were actually homeschooled when you were young,
Yeah.
and that
Hmm.
was likely at a time when very few families participated in homeschool education. But
Everybody's doing
now,
it
and everybody's
now.
doing it now, right? Exactly. And one of the interesting things, I was talking with someone recently who lives in California, and he said he's got 2 young kids, and he said that when his kids had to stop going to school, they bought the property next door to them, renovated it, hired 3 independent teachers, and joined in with one other family to teach their 4 kids so that they wouldn't skip a beat. And so one could argue that that is really, innovation in educational learning, if you will. And yet not everyone has the resources to innovate in that way. So you have developed or created LRNG and the LRNG Innovators Challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're trying to foster innovation in the educational system?
Yeah, so our teachers, they do such difficult work, such challenging work, and they're often underappreciated, underpaid, underrewarded, undervalued by our society. And we know that they're so important to our young people's education. We need to do all that we can to lift them up, to invest in their ideas, give them the support and the training that they need, and make sure they're taken care of when they're doing a good job for our young people. And we started a project called LRNG Innovators, which is all about inspiring teachers to innovate in their classrooms, finding ways to do new things that get breakthroughs for their young people. And when they come up with some great ideas, we want to amplify the ideas and spread them so that teachers all around the country can learn from them and maybe do the same thing or similar things in their own classroom. So through LRNG, we actually reward the teachers with money when they win this prize, and we do a great job, hopefully, of storytelling by sharing the work that they're doing with other teachers around the country and giving them an opportunity to learn from each other.
Do you have any examples of some of the winning innovative challenges from
Oh, yeah,
prior years?
so cool. I'm like stunned by some of the things these kids are doing and their teachers are doing. Some of them are environmental, studying the water in their community and finding better ways to take care of the natural resources in their community. Some of them, one of them was a project around monuments in their community. So we've had a lot of conversation around Confederate monuments and some of these statues in our communities that seem to elevate and celebrate people that, in retrospect, may not deserve that kind of elevation and celebration. And one of the projects was teachers working with the students to come up with a community based solution for how to think about monuments. So some of the projects were scientific, some of them were more social studies, but all of them were so interesting and stimulating. And the thing that is so exciting about it is that when you are able to make the classroom open up to the community, when you're able to make the things that kids are learning about apply to their lives, apply to their communities' lives, it sticks with them much more lastingly. The lessons that they learn are much more sustained and I think more moving and more important for them if they're able to do that. And that's what we've been able to reward with these teachers and hopefully inspire in other teachers around the country.
Yeah, I think you clearly have. I want to shift now to less about your social efforts and more about your true actual entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
So, again, I think many people might be surprised to learn that in your entrepreneurial endeavors, they include being a partner in and/or founder of Get Lifted Film Company,
Yes.
Homeschool Music, founder of Bungalow Clothing, LVE Wines, which is Legend Vineyard exclusive wines. And you're also a successful investor in several ventures, including Thrive Market and Him and Hers. There's a trend, I think, of celebrities and athletes and entertainers who are really starting to embrace angel and seed investing into startups. Can you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your activities there and why you do that?
It's funny you name some of those and they're not around anymore. So that's one of the
That's a
lessons we
good
learn is
lesson.
that you're going to invest in ideas and not all of them are going to work out. But part of um, as a more passive investor, part of my strategy has been to really evaluate all these ideas and hope that they're all going to work out. But understand that diversifying and not putting all your eggs in one basket is always a pretty good strategy. So we've invested in some things that have done really well and returned beautiful returns to us, and then other things have just not worked out. And on balance, we've done pretty well, but that's part of how you should go into investing with that mentality that some things aren't going to work out. When it comes to things that I'm more personally connected to, that I'm a partner in, that I'm actively running, that's an extension of me, like Legend Vineyard Exclusives or Get Lifted Film Company, these are the things that I'm heavily involved in. I'm working on the product. I'm in conversation with our executives all the time. And I do a lot of personal kind of stumping for these products, whether it's our productions as a film company, our television and film or theater productions, or my wine, LVE. These are products that I'm very heavily involved with, from creation to marketing to um, uh, all the things in between. And so those, for me, one, it needs to start with something that I'm really interested in and passionate about. Two, I want to collaborate with a great team. And I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can say no to a lot of things and not collaborate with people that I feel share my values or my passion or my interest. And then I try to let these people who are really good at what they do what they do best and not get in the way too much and be useful where I can be useful.
Do you have a particular entrepreneurial venture where you either learned the biggest lesson or had the most difficult time sort of navigating?
Well, I think our production company has been quite a journey. We started it quite a few years ago now, and we're just starting to really have the kind of success that we envisioned for ourselves years ago. But it just takes a while to build credibility. There are a lot of celebrities that have production companies that are basically kind of perceived more as vanity ventures by people in the Hollywood industry. And so for us to build that credibility just took time. It took us really being steadfast with making sure we picked the right kinds of projects, that I really was invested in these projects. I was reading the scripts, I was speaking with our filmmakers, I was showing that I wasn't just slapping my name on things, but I was truly engaged. But it took time to build that trust with funders and other power brokers in Hollywood. But I think we've gotten to the point now where we really are well regarded as a production company and not just as, oh, that's John Legend's thing that he slapped his name on. But it was a challenge to do it. But I think we were patient, we were steadfast, we didn't try to take a lot of shortcuts, and we partnered with really great people that made us better. And it's been working.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on that. You
Thank you.
recently joined the board of Vox Media, and
Yeah.
which was an organization founded by a Wharton alumnus, Jim Bankoff, in the class of
Hmm.
'96. What
Love
excites
Jim,
you? Good. I'm
CEO.
glad to hear that. What excites you about Vox Media?
Well, I think they've established a really great brand of telling really important stories, explaining things to people so they can be more informed as citizens. I've been a fan of their work long before I was a part of the board. And again, whenever I get involved with any kind of product or business, I want to at least first really like what they do. And with Vox Media, I felt like they've been creating some really great content for quite a while now, and content I feel like really adds to the public conversation in a way that's really useful, really edifying, and hopefully makes the world better.
Yeah, great. So I also learned recently that you have joined forces with the mental health app Headspace, and that
Yeah.
you're the first musical director or chief musical officer for this app. So tell us about that and how you're able to marry one side of your professional life with this new industry.
Well, it's so fun actually because I'm learning so much as we go. And I had not done a lot of research into kind of the more scientific aspects of how music affects the way we think and the way we experience life. I intuitively knew, what certain songs do to me in certain circumstances and how it makes me feel. But it's been really cool. We created a new content series called Music on My Mind, which is all about learning the scientific side of how music affects us so that we can be intentional about using music to create certain outcomes, whether it's helping us go to sleep, helping us work out more effectively, helping us study for our Wharton exams, whatever it is, music can be helpful in those pursuits. And together, Headspace and I have been exploring those things, creating content to inform everybody about them. And then also, we've been creating playlists for the Headspace Focus app so that people can use the music that we've curated from all these great creators around the world to help them focus or whatever other whatever other ends they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I was on a Zoom call with a group of students earlier this afternoon, and they did an icebreaker, and the question was, what have you been most grateful for recently? And I'd say a quarter of the students mentioned music, that they've had music in their life in the context of this pandemic, which they say has really helped them get through some challenging times. So,
That's good. And when I put my album Bigger Love out last year, a lot of people were holding their albums back because of the pandemic and because their tours were canceled. My tour was canceled. And I was like, you know what? I want to put it out because I feel like people could use some music right now. They could use something uplifting and inspiring, and I want to try to give it to them. And I think music has that power. I think the streaming services have been telling us that a lot of the music people are listening to is music that is nostalgic. A lot of it's
yeah.
classic stuff, stuff that brings back memories of a different time. And Either way, it's clear that music can help people get through some of these challenging times, and it makes me feel good that music is able to do that for people.
Yeah, it certainly does. So, you were one of the first musicians to join Who and the Global Citizens live stream concert in March 2020, right after things began to
Yeah.
really shut down around the country
A
and the
year
world,
ago.
frankly. A year, it
Yeah.
was a year ago. You're right. Um, so the effort in that initiative was around sort of getting people to practice social distancing as a result of the pandemic. What inspired that idea and the approach to embrace the power of connectedness in that concert?
Well, first of all, Global Citizen is a great entrepreneurial story too, and Hugh has done a really amazing job of founding that organization as a young person and getting all kinds of corporate funders all around the world to contribute to these great causes, getting millions of young people engaged, putting on these amazing concerts and events that bring people together and galvanize them around issues of importance to the globe. And he had been talking to Chris Martin and to myself and to my manager, who is also a Wharton grad. She went to the college undergrad and graduated from Wharton, got her MBA. Her name is Ty Glorious. She's my manager and an old friend I used to sing in counterparts with at Penn. And anyway, she'd been talking to Hugh. Hugh been talking to her and me and Chris Martin, and we all thought it'd be really important to emphasize this idea that we all needed to stay home together. And We got a bunch of different artists to do Instagram Live or other kinds of live streamed concerts to just get that message out to the world at the beginning of this pandemic that it was important for us to distance. And of course, we've learned a lot more about what we can do and what we can't do, what's safer and what's less safe. But in that early time, it was just everybody needed to stay home, and and we tried to be part of the group that would get that message out to everyone in a way that was engaging and fun and entertaining, and we had a great time doing it.
Well, I remember that concert. I had a great time listening to it.
Thank you.
Words of wisdom for s- aspiring entrepreneurs. What would you like to tell them that might be important for them as they start out on a journey similar to yours?
Well, all I can tell you is what I learned from my own journey, and that is one, um, do some soul searching and preparation and learning, so you figure out what you have to offer to the world. For me, most of it was me developing myself as an artist. And that development didn't start in college. It started when I was a kid. I was playing in church. I was singing in choirs and school plays and all these things. But I was developing myself as a performer and eventually as a writer and as a recording artist. And that took a lot of time. It took collaboration, working with other people who inspired me and pushed me and challenged me, and then it took a lot of persistence. Um, so much of what's going to happen at the beginning of any kind of entrepreneurial venture is you being told no, or you being told you're not ready yet, being told to wait. And you're probably like, what do they know? I know I'm great. I know I have a great idea. I know I have something great to offer. And I was thinking that as a musician. I was like, I'm ready. What are these labels not seeing me that that they should be seeing? But I think what you have to do is take that feedback, learn from it, grow from it, and be persistent. Have grit, have determination, have that perseverance and resilience that will get you through all those no's until it's time for your yes to come. And sometimes they may be wrong. Sometimes, your idea may be great right when you bring it to them. But a lot of times their feedback can help you hone it and shape it and uh, reconfigure it and mold it in the way that it needs to be molded until it's really ready for prime time. And I think, even though I wouldn't have admitted it to myself at the time, I can, in hindsight, say um, a lot of the feedback, constructive criticism that I got back then really helped me become a better artist.
That's very helpful. Thank you for sharing that. All right, we're going to end with rapid fire questions. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
All right. What's been the most exciting thing in your personal or professional journey? You get to pick one.
Ooh, most exciting. Oh my gosh. Well, actually, one of the most exciting things I did as a performer recently was perform "Feeling Good" on the in front of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial as we inaugurated Joe Biden to be president. Um, I had sung at inauguration events before, particularly when Barack Obama was inaugurated, but there was something special about that moment because my kids were able to be there. Um, they were able to be with me in this historic moment at this historic place. My wife was able to be there. And after the last 4 years and the crazy 2020 that we've been through, um, just the idea that change was around the corner and that we were turning the page as a nation. And then being able to sing a song that was made popular by one of my musical heroes, Nina Simone. I named my daughter Luna Simone after her. And being able to do that in that moment with my family there, that was one of the most thrilling career moments I've ever had.
Yeah, it was very
That was not a
inspiring.
rapid fire answer. I apologize.
It wasn't really a rapid fire question, so I apologize. Um, Fondest pen memory.
Fondest pen memory? Oh, wow. I had so many good memories. I think a lot of it was around my friends in my a cappella group. I spent a lot of time and energy with counterparts. I was eventually president and music director of the group as I was an upperclassman. and I made friendships for life, and we had some really fun actual moments on stage and off stage. So definitely that was a fond memory.
What's next for John Legend in the future?
What's next for me? There's lots of things. I'm at our office studio where I've been writing and recording a bunch of new material. I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm hoping we can tour again one day. Um, and we have a tour date scheduled for late summer, and we'll see what the progress of the vaccine and everything else is, whether or not those can still happen. We're continuing to create some really exciting content at Get Lifted Film Company. We're continuing to create some great wines at LVE, and we are going to have some new ventures, both Chrissy and I, together in the future. But we can't announce them until they're ready for prime time. But it's been a lot of fun, just seeing what we can do together and how we can make the world a little more interesting and more beautiful. And hopefully, we'll continue to be able to do that.
All right, two more. Uh, Favorite non-John Legend song?
Favorite? Oh, how do you pick? I love Nina Simone. I love Aretha Franklin. I love Stevie Wonder. I love Marvin Gaye. So I don't know if I can pick one song, but those are some of my favorite artists, and I still play them all the time, even though some of the songs are like 50 years old, 60 years old. Uh, but yeah, I'm punting on that question.
All right, well, you can't punt on this one. Favorite John Legend song?
Favorite? Oh, it's hard to ask a songwriter their favorite song of their own
No.
because they're all of them are our babies, and we are proud of them. Any of them that I put on an album means I was definitely proud of them because uh, I usually have written around 50 songs per album cycle, and I only put out like 14 of them. So any of the 14 that make it, I'm pretty in love with for one reason or another. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'm gonna pick "Ordinary People" because it was my first big single. It kind of it wasn't my first single, but it was my first big single, and it really introduced me to the world, and I still love singing it. It still really connects for me and for my audience, and so I'll say "Ordinary People."
Excellent. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be in conversation with you.
You have the EGOT, Emmy, Grammy,
Yes.
Oscar, Tony, but you're going to get the PGOT because we're going to add the Penn, the award. So I have the honor of presenting you with the 2021 Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship Alumni Achievement Award. You've brought innovation and an entrepreneurial mindset to all that you do. Your vision and creativity, your versatility, and your follow through are just really traits that we hope to instill in our students as they venture out into the world. So, John, thank you for being a role model for our students and alumni and for showing them how the right idea, fueled by passion and focus, can make a great impact on the world. So, I'm pleased now to present you with the 2021 Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship Alumni Achievement Award. And you're going to have to help me a little bit with that because you probably it's there, hopefully. There it is. Okay, magically. So
There it is.
thanks so much for doing it. And it's a great honor to give you the award.
Thank you so much. And I'm truly honored that you gave it to me and that even a non Wharton grad could qualify for this. I truly am grateful for my Penn experience, and I'm proud to be an alumnus of our great university. I always recommend it if I have family members, family members who are thinking of applying. And the fact that you all are honoring alumni in this way and hopefully using it as a way of teaching our current students and the whole Penn community about our experiences, and hopefully they can learn from them and do their own thing, do their own ventures and make their own ideas come to life. Thank you so much.
This brings us to the end of our event this evening. I want to thank special thanks to President Gutmann, Dean James, and Vice Dean Ulrich for your words and for participating in our program tonight. And thank you to all who joined us this evening to celebrate the achievements of our honoree, John Legend. The spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation is alive and well at Wharton and at the University of Pennsylvania. If this event has inspired you, like it's inspired me, there are lots of ways to get involved. If you're a student, consider participating in some of the programming at Venture Lab. There are many ways you can infuse entrepreneurship into your individual passions. If you're an alum, consider donating your time, talent, or treasure to ensuring that the next generation of Penn and Wharton innovators have everything they need to tackle the world's most pressing challenges. Each one of us is a culture carrier for the community we would like to build here at Penn and Wharton. Every time we help someone in our community, we help strengthen the bonds that make our community unique and powerful. So, however you choose to do it, please consider getting involved generously. To find out more information about how to engage with Venture Lab, please visit venturelab.upenn.edu and click on the Get Involved button in the top right corner of the page. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.